You ever find yourself looking at something you built with your own two hands thinking, this right here, this is where I draw the line? That's exactly what I was doing standing on the edge of my lake cabin property. Hands clamped on the icy metal of the fence I'd just finished. The thing was a beast, barbed wire on top posts, sunk deep, running not just along my line, but slicing clean across land the HOA said was theirs. Right up to their precious head office, no less. Suns bouncing off the wire, neighbors out gawking, phones in the air, whispering, just a regular morning in small-town America, right? But that fence, it wasn't just a piece of metal. It was the middle finger I'd been waiting to give for months. And of course, there she was, HOA, Karen, real name Linda Parker, storming up with a stack of paperwork, screaming her head off like I'd just set her house on fire. "You can't do this. This is illegal. You're trespassing on HOA property," she shrieks, face redder than a tomato. I just leaned on that fence as calm as a Sunday morning. Funny, I told her that's exactly what your son did when he squatted in my lake cabin. You could have heard a pin drop. Cops showed up, sirens flashing, HOA busybodies swarming nobody. Not even Karen dared cross that fence. They had no idea I was holding aces they hadn't even seen. Before the officers could finish their coffee, Karen's tearing at the fence with her bare hands, the deck behind her office creaking so loud you'd swear it was about to fall through. People are screaming, cameras everywhere. And that's when I thought, hold up, let me take you back so you know how it got this bad. Here's the cast. I'm James Miller. Nothing fancy, just a guy who loves fishing and fixing things, holding on to a cabin that's been in my family for 3 generations. Then there's Linda Parker, Queen Bee of the HOA, and her son Tyler, entitled enough to think the world's his inheritance. It started with me away on a work trip, coming home to find strangers' cars in my driveway boxes on my porch, and Tyler, shaggy hair, sunglasses, soda in hand, acting like he owned the place. My mom said it was abandoned. She signed it over to me. I looked up and there's Karen just beaming like she's done me a favor. "You should have read the fine print, James. You didn't maintain the cabin to HOA standards, so we claimed it. Tyler lives here now. I swear the nerve." They laughed in my face, locked the door, left me sleeping in my truck while the lights stayed on inside. I could have busted in, but I played it cool, dug through every deed, every dusty county record, even hired a lawyer who practically cackled, "Oh, this is going to be fun." Meanwhile, Karen's out there holding pool parties at my cabin, bragging about how she rescued it from neglect, plastering photos of her son living his best life by the lake. Weeks passed. Quiet. On the surface, anyway. The day the county handed down their decision, I didn't just win my cabin back. Turns out an old map in the courthouse showed their fancy HOA office was actually sitting on my original deeded land going back to the 1950s. That's when I got the idea revenge by way of boundary. I spent nights marking the line, days digging post holes. Karen stormed over yelling about rules, but by the time she realized the fence was up and the HOA office was locked inside, pandemonium. Karen waving bylaws, officers called in the deck beneath the office, creaking ominously. And just as the officer asked for my side, the wood gave way, cracked like a rifle shot. People scrambled, phones rolling, Karen pointing at me, screaming, "You'll pay for this." But the cop just looked at my deed and told her, "Ma'am, HOA rules don't trump property records." For the first time, I saw fear flicker across her face. That's when Tyler rolls up, blasting music, sunglasses on, yelling, "Why is there a fence around our office?" I just about laughed. "Our office? You mean my land?" he sputtered. "This is illegal." So I pulled out the map right there on my truck hood. "See this line? Your mom never bothered checking it." The officer nodded. "Looks like the HOA's got a real problem." Board members started turning on Karen. Tyler's bravado melted away. I could feel the tide turning almost. "But if you think that was the end, oh man, you don't know HOA. Karen." The very next morning I woke up to chainsaws. She'd hired a crew, told them to tear down my fence. The sky was still bruised from last night's storm, the ground slick, and when a chainsaw hit the wet metal, it sparked like the 4th of July. "Crew chief backs off, ma'am. This isn't safe." Something's wrong. Karen's yelling at them to keep going, but I start recording. "So you're paying folks to destroy private property," I said real loud for the crowd. That was all it took. The crew quit. Karen just stood there shaking with rage. That night her son Tyler and a couple friends showed up trying to act tough. "Nice fence," he smirked shame if something happened to it. I stared him down. "Go ahead and try. See how fast you land in jail." They left, but not before calling me old man. That's when I knew this was personal, not business. I called my lawyer, beefed up the fence, installed cameras, and got a big mean dog named Duke from a buddy. Didn't take long for round two. At 3:00 a.m., I'm jarred awake by alarms and the smell of smoke. The HOA office, still trapped by my fence, was on fire. Through the smoke, I spot Karen standing watching the flames, smiling. She'd started a war. The sheriff showed up, watched the security footage clear as day. It was arson. The news got out. By sunrise, Lake Karen was trending online. The HOA board tried to blame me, but the footage told the real story. Now you'd think torching the office would be the peak. But 2 nights later, the lake started rising fast. Lightning, thunder, water lapping at my deck. I rushed outside, and there she was, Karen's car on the hill, her headlights glowing. She'd sabotaged the old dam. I called the sheriff, grabbed the family photo album, and just barely made it to higher ground before the water swallowed everything below. By morning, my cabin was half flooded, the HOA office gone, but Karen vanished. They never found her body. For a day or two, I hoped it was over until I found a letter in my mailbox. "You think the storm was bad? Wait until you see what I left behind." I checked the property, found metal objects. 7 bombs planted in the mud. Dalton and the bomb squad removed them, shaking their heads at how far she'd gone. Just when it seemed safe, I heard footsteps in the woods. A masked figure appeared, dropped a match, and fire ripped through the grass. I yelled "chased," but he got away, clearly not acting alone. Next thing I know, Karen's calling from a burner phone, hissing the fire was just a warning. So I doubled my security, and Duke, he never slept, always on alert. Couple nights later, I caught Tyler cutting through the fence. Chased him down, and he spilled the beans. Karen was threatening him too, saying she'd ruin him if he didn't help. But before we could bring him in, word came down the radio. Karen had escaped custody. That night the power cut out, and through the dark voices circled my cabin. Karen showed up with Tyler and 2 more crowbars in hand. I stood on the porch, rifle ready. Duke snarling at my side. The rain pounded, thunder rolling. Karen screamed, "Take him down." They charged. I fired a warning shot. Chaos broke loose, and Duke tackled Karen into the mud just as the sheriff arrived, guns drawn. They cuffed her, found blueprints and detonators in her trunk. She'd planned to blow the whole community sky high. Tyler broke down sobbing, realizing his mom's madness went farther than he ever imagined. But even then, as they drove Karen away, she mouthed through the rain-streaked window, "Not over." 2 days later, another package showed up, a note inside. "You survived the flood, but the fire is still coming." That night, another fire ripped toward my cabin, and this time Karen herself was there, torch in hand, eyes wild, yelling, "If I burn you, burn with me." Duke took her down. Firefighters stomped out the blaze, and Dalton promised, "She's finished. No bail, no deals." Months went by. The lakefront started to heal. The HOA fell apart, and Karen became a legend. People whispered about a cautionary tale of what happens when power goes unchecked. At the sentencing, the judge gave her life, no parole. And one evening, as the sun dropped behind the hills, I sat on my porch, Duke at my feet, cabin still standing, fence still strong, a survivor. And just as dusk settled, I thought I heard her voice on the wind promising it wasn't over. Maybe it never will be, not truly. But I'm not afraid anymore. I stood my ground, and now this land is mine forever. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back the way I did? Is there ever a point when standing up to bullies goes too far? Drop your thoughts below, because after a storm like this, Everyone's got an opinion on where justice ends and vengeance begins.